If there's ever a place which illustrates the water crisis Aotearoa is facing, it's here in Bridge Pā. For 3 decades, this community has been left high and dry.
When I see no water in my awa, it hurts. It hurts deeply.
So why is it so bad, and why has it been allowed to go on for so long?
Historically, we've had a first in, first served approach to allocating fresh water in this country.
I'm quite happy with how I am here by my lake, which gives me enough water to see me through.
Bridge Pā is a small, predominantly Māori community on the outskirts of Hastings. But this is ground zero for the water crisis here in the Hawke's Bay. The Haukainga has watched the awa run dry during the summer months. But in the past, the Karewarewa River was teeming with life all year round.
I kaukau mātou I tēnei awa. I ngā raumati, ia hene raumati, ia hene raumati. He paurika ki tātu maira nei te wai koe ko ngotetia mai te wai. Ko tango maira nei te wai ko nei.
So how did this once flourishing awa end up looking like this? When just upstream, it's a different story, with kilometres of lush green vineyards and orchards. The wine industry is worth more than $2 billion to the New Zealand economy, and the Hawke's Bay is the second largest wine-producing region. But it's part of an intensive horticulture industry which is drawing on scarce water resources here in Hira. For years, these industries have taken groundwater to use for irrigation, and in turn helped to transform the Hawke's Bay into food and wine country. A term Hira Huata is deeply insulted by.
This is not wine country. This is te matawa Māui. That's really about certain people being able to invest and make monies from this area by now implementing another industry.
And while these industries make money, most summers the Karewarewa River dries up. The removal of groundwater for orchard, vineyard and crop irrigation thought to be a major contributor.
The state of our aquifer needs huge aroha. When we talk aquifer, I talk the whole systems, including the rivers and streams. There needs to be a whole mindset change in te matau a Māui.
And the community at Bridge Pā is fed up with profit taking priority over the health of their waterways. Today, Hira is holding a hui at Māngai Marae on the crisis her community is facing.
My dad has to go looking for water, Chris. Most times it's always on the farmer's land. It's polluted from the offloads that go into the river. That's the kind that we have to eat now.
They've been doing it for years. Get to the summertime, there's nothing in there. And we've had enough. We need help badly.
But while Bridge Pā runs dry, at Te Tua station there's a seemingly endless supply of water. Farmer Mike Glazebrook owns the property.
This is a 18-hectare dam I put in about the year 2000 to give myself some water security during prolonged dry spells when the river would go on ban. This dam services Te Tua station, which includes vineyards, orchards, organic maize cropping. So this dam is large enough to see my own property through a quite severe drought event.
When it comes to a community like Bridge Pā, your dams here are full of water, but when you go down to their awa, it's bone dry, it's becoming more common. They've lost the use of their awa. What do you say to those communities who have no water at the moment?
Well, I've been saying for a long time, let's fix it. Let's get more water into the system.
And we think
The Hawke's Bay Regional Council Chief Executive James Palmer is the man tasked with trying to fix what is an environmental disaster to the people of Bridge Pā. Firstly, his councils had to accept the impacts that vineyards, orchards and farming have had on the water.
Water has been allocated in Hiritonga from the groundwater system on the assumption that we weren't having a significant environmental effect. Now, the work that we have done as a council, the science work we've done over the last decade and more, has put us now in a strong position to understand that there are significant environmental effects from the cumulative allocation that's occurred over time.
3 years ago, a moratorium on new consents for taking water was introduced.
So what we're really saying as a council is there can be no more development of water use in this catchment until such time as we've remedied the environmental issues.
And so does that mean there'll be no more wineries, there'll be no more orchards, that's it?
So for now, we're seeing absolutely no expansion in those industries because we're not allocating any more water. We're absolutely clear that the environment comes first, that is the priority, and then after that, providing for people, and then ultimately industry comes third.
How can you say the environment is the priority when it seems like for communities like Bridge Pā, the economy has come first for such a long time?
So there hasn't been a priority for either the economy or arguably necessarily the environment historically because of two things. One is that there was a view that the aquifer system was largely inexhaustible. So many people in Hawke's Bay thought that we were miles off being fully allocated and there was still lots more water to use.
They were wrong, and the council is now realising there's a major environmental problem. Next month, the Hawke's Bay Regional Council will hold a hearing at Māngai Marae in Bridge Pā, presenting its proposed policy changes for managing water. But they're walking into communities highly sceptical of the council's management of the water. And for good reason.
So there's no water coming out of there?
No water at all.
In 2009, the water completely ran dry in Bridge Pā, leaving residents with nothing to drink.
I have two babies, a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old. Yeah, it's hard. It makes everything harder.
And in 2016, 4 people died after drinking contaminated water.
17 people are still in hospital and 1 remains in intensive care.
Why should this community believe what you're going to do? Because they've had a long history of mismanagement.
I understand the hurt and the frustration about the way that we as a community have historically managed these resources. For far too long, we have considered them to be resources simply for exploitation and to provide for economic and social needs. So historically, the management of fresh water, both in this region and nationally, has been deficient.
So the council is now on the search for water storage solutions. And one proposal on the table is a plan to expand Mike Glazebrook's dam. He wants to make his dam even bigger, expanding it to where this blue drum sits. He believes this will allow enough water to be collected for both irrigation and to help keep local streams flowing during the summer.
Māori communities like Bridge Pā, they see landowners who are being allowed to collect water in dams like these, and yet you've got the government saying nobody owns the water and their water rights are being taken away because they have no awa. What do you say to those arguments?
Well, it's not going to be me who controls it. So any thoughts that, this is going to be a Pākehā water baron setting himself up to control the local water supply, that concern is without foundation. It'll be a regional council controlled operation.
Do you think it is a good solution?
Definitely not. It's supporting the damage that's already there, causing the damage here.
The regional council says it isn't favouring the Glazebrook Dam project, but sees the potential in it.
We are still going to need to find further solutions to offset some of the existing environmental impacts, and the reality of that is that some form of water storage is necessary.
But after our interview, the regional council confirmed it will invest almost $5 million into finding water storage solutions, with a major focus on the Glazebrook Dam. But fixing the problem at Bridge Pā in the near future seems unlikely.
Can you promise that the Karewarewa River will have some water in it next summer?
We've got more work to do to understand whether or not we've got viable solutions there.
So that's a no?
So next summer, it will be too soon for the whole package of solutions to really start delivering outcomes.
Hira Huata says she's heard promises being made and broken over the last 30 years.
Do you have any confidence in the regional council?
No. No Māori here does.
And the battle to save her waterways is one she doesn't want future generations to have to carry on.
I don't want my mokos to be fighting the fight. Where's their waikoko? Their waiū? Their waiora?